Welcome all. I'm Ruddy Rutledge, and he's Arthur. It is officially football season on the Bayou, LSU, Saints, tailgating coming up. Speaking of LSU tailgating, last season I took a poll. At LSU, on campus, I took a poll, and I found that 100% of the people at that tailgate became angry when the tent collapsed. Took a poll. Let us dive into our show, shall we? We'll have a Saints preview next week before the NFL kicks off for real. But this episode, it's all LSU. The Tigers open their season at Clemson Saturday, August 30th. Too bad we can't say Saturday night in Death Valley. First shot fired. But we will watch LSU play football this weekend. So good to finally be saying that. No more relying on fall camp media practice reports for tidbits of info on how things may or may not look out there. But I do applaud the media's efforts this past month. And I will say that when the same reports, the same details, I should say, are repeated across the board by all the various outlets, you can easily find yourself buying in, believing, even as we get closer to kickoff. I've yet to hear one single media member, not one, who is not blown away by LSU's speed and depth at the wide receiver position. I have to assume all these media people are watching these practices with both eyes open, and that they're not all dumbasses. Must be something to that wide receiver speed thing. Can't wait to see it on display Saturday. Of course, the reports haven't been all sunshine and rainbows for every position heading into this game. Lots of opinions on the LSU offensive line. It's been a popular topic, to say the least. This O-line is stacked with highly recruited talent. That's a fact. But they're inexperienced playing together, and the popular narrative is it's going to take some time for them to gel. Well, okay, I think they're going to be a solid group, but they don't have a lot of time. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned about this O-line Saturday, first action of the season, matching up against a Clemson D-line loaded with NFL talent. So they're hitting the ground running. Let's just hope, for Garrett Nussmeier's sake, they don't hit the ground too often. No team is without question marks right now, LSU included, but there's no denying this Tiger team is supremely talented, and that's been well established at this point. No arguments. Talent is one thing. You can see it out on the field, in the flesh, moving, running, jumping, knocking people's asses into the dirt. But then there's the mindset of a team, the attitude, the demeanor, the makeup of the team. Usually harder to gauge with no games having been played. How fast are they going to play? How hard are they going to hit? How are they going to respond when they get hit hard? These are the questions that you often wonder going into the season. And from all the player and coach interviews, it's obvious that this football team is a very confident group heading into the season. They feel good about themselves at this point. But what's most evident to me is that everybody associated with LSU football looks to be completely obsessed with winning game one, operating under some one-track hive mind, going 1-0. And it isn't so much Clemson either. Clemson's just in the way. These players and coaches want to see 1-0 next to the name LSU on the morning of August the 31st, heading into week 2. Been a long time since that was the case. Now there's a trivia question. How many new national championships has Auburn claimed since LSU last won a season opener? Nobody actually answer that. Auburn might not be done yet either, claiming The claim merchants from the plains. The plain old claim merchants from the plains. They claimed LSU's 58th national title. That must mean everything's up for grabs. Watch out, Ole Miss. Auburn might come for your precious 2003 SEC West co-championship. Is that sign still hanging up in there? In the vault? Needs to be hanging in the Louvre. Modern art masterpiece, that thing right there. If only Eli hadn't tripped on his bottom lip, that sign might say something different. But these here Tigers, this LSU team, is so all in on winning this one game, I don't even think they know who they're playing in week 2. And I say that because there's actually not another team on their schedule. That's a fact. On LSU's official team schedule, on the big wall in the football building, someone tweeted a photo of this. It just says Clemson August the 30th, and then a bunch of blank dates, blank spaces. That's their schedule. That may have changed by now, but I doubt it. Not been long if it has. That's been this team's mindset. Go 1-0, and then worry about whatever is next. I wonder if Clemson's schedule says LSU and nothing else. I wonder. And it all starts with the head coach, as is usually the case with things like this. If LSU is a team obsessed, it's because Brian Kelly is a man possessed. And I get it. He's under a lot of pressure to win going into this season, and he really doesn't want to lose 4 straight openers. I'll rephrase that. He really doesn't need to lose 4 straight openers. So going 1-0, it's given these LSU Tigers something very specific to work towards all offseason, not starting 0-1 for the 6th straight year. For the 6th straight year. And for the current coach's 4th straight. Now, you might be worried as a fan that the Tigers are putting all their eggs in one basket, maybe. You might even be thinking, what if they lose after all this buildup? Or maybe they're putting too much pressure on themselves to win this one game when it is still just one game in a very long season. Well, when you consider the opponent, they're really left with no choice. If they really want to go 1-0, and they really do, that's the thing. LSU needs to be obsessed with winning this game. They have no choice. The situation calls for it. They're playing a top 5 team on the road in their house at night, the first game of the season. That's going to put a little something extra in your step. And just how good is this top 5 team? Well, let's take a quick look. Dabo Swinney's squad is ranked number 4 in the country by the AP Nerds, but his Tigers are ranked number 1 in the country by Pro Football Focus. PFF ranks Clemson's offense number 1 and its defense number 3 in the country. Are they really that good? That good? Doubt it. I don't think so, but LSU's preparing as if they are. Clemson was not good defending the run last year, but they're stacked with D-line talent. And end TJ Parker and tackle Peter Woods are both potential top 10 picks in this year's draft. And they brought in a new DC, so don't count on last year. PFF has quarterback Cade Klubnik, the number 3 overall player in the country, going into the season. And it's not just PFF. CBS Sports has projected 5 Clemson players, and Todd McShay projects 6 Clemson Tiger first-rounders in the next draft. Just little old Clemson, huh, Dabo? We just little old Clemson. Bring your own guts. So Brian Kelly's taking his football team on the road, green offensive line and all, on the road at night, and beating that team? How? How exactly does LSU go in there and deal with their obsession in the only proper way and leave that stadium 1-0? Well, for starters, Get ready for this. LSU's got just as much, if not more, talent across the board. And PFF is eventually going to find that out their own damn selves without help from me. But that doesn't mean Saturday night is not going to be a hellacious battle. And there are a lot of ways to win football games. And I believe, this is just what I think, LSU's got to do a lot right, execution-wise, a laundry list of keys to victory. But nobody likes long lists, unless you're one of those list people. And even then, I doubt you want a long one. So let's just hit the basics here, the obvious. We know LSU has to have some semblance of a between-the-tackles running game. At some point, they're going to have it. We were all watching in the opener last year against USC, looking for it. We were stunned to see what we saw instead. And we're going to all be watching for it again this year in the opener. We also know LSU needs to be ready, if need be, to devote extra attention to pass protection. Running back staying in, what have you. Whatever it takes to keep Nuss standing up, whole, able to play football. At least able to throw one. He is the season. And I think LSU will have a plan in place for that. What else? On the other side of the ball, the Tiger corners, Mansour Delane, Ashton Stamps, P.J. Woodland, need to step up and man up against the Virginia Tech wide receiver. Virginia Tech. Mansour Delane is a Virginia Tech transfer. The Clemson wide receivers, that's who LSU's playing, Clemson. I wish they were playing Virginia Tech. Clemson wide receivers, Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco. This is huge, this matchup. The impact these individual matchups are going to have on this game. LSU defensive coordinator Blake Baker improved the defense last season after the Madhouse disaster of 23. But we still didn't get the real Blake Baker defense. He didn't have his corners. Not enough anyway. He has been waiting to do his thing, waiting to dial up the pressure, just to be able to have that option. Creating havoc, forcing turnovers, that's the real Blake Baker defensive objective. Got to have the press man corners, though, to play that style. And last year, he did not. Don't be shocked if five-star freshman DJ Pickett introduces himself to college football right here in this game. I'm sure he'll play. College football might introduce itself to him. That happens sometimes too. Little lagniappe, Pickett is officially the tallest cornerback in college football history at 6'5". Good. Of course, the Bayou Bengals are also going to need that reportedly nasty pass rush to make Cade Klubnik the most miserable human being in that stadium Saturday. Klubnik is a good passer who can run quite well, dual threat, has to be pressured, but also has to be contained. And LSU spent a lot of damn money in the offseason on players who can do this. Edge, defensive end. Need to get some quick payoff on that investment right here in this game. Sometimes things are just that simple. LSU also needs some return game contribution. Berrien Brown, transfer from Kentucky, is preseason All-SEC return specialist. He already has one 100-yard kickoff for a touchdown, kickoff return, against Clemson, 2023 Tax Slayer Bowl. Let's go for two, Brian Kelly. You can do this. Brown is electric. Plug him in, turn him on. So LSU needs a lot to go right. They got to execute. But what they can't afford is to go in there too wound up and too tight. Or heaven forbid, overwhelmed or intimidated by that environment. Now, I certainly don't think that's going to be the case, not in DV Jr., but maybe the visiting Tigers. Just a fun suggestion here. The Bayou Bengals might want to go in there and do something to let the hosts know that the guests are going to make themselves comfortable. That's all. What could that be? I'm not entirely sure. But I can't help but think back to the 2019 LSU Texas game. Y'all not going to claim 2019, are you, Auburn? But remember what happened right before that game. In the middle of Texas's on-campus stadium, LSU defensive end K'Lavon Chaisson, legend, along with some other Tigers, I can't remember who, they were some balls though, calmly walked over to the Longhorn sideline, pre-game, nonchalant, nothing disrespectful, and helped themselves to the Longhorn water bottles. Harmless confrontation ensued, quickly dispersed, but as someone in attendance that day, that awfully hot day, it didn't seem much to me like the LSU Tigers were the ones in the hostile environment after that. They didn't act like they were, didn't play like they were, more importantly. Now, I'm not saying LSU needs to go in there at Clemson and drink their water. Not saying it. But the best chance the LSU Tigers could have possibly given themselves to win this game has already passed. Long time ago. It would have been to prepare as if there's no tomorrow starting, this past January. Eat, sleep, and drink this one game for 8 months. Bathe themselves in all things Clemson. Find out just exactly how many crack rocks that mascot sprinkles into his Frosted Flakes every morning. Find out. And you know what? Good on these LSU Tigers, attaboys, because that's exactly what they did. Minus the information on the crack, far as I know. Kelly has driven the point home repeatedly that these players have been preparing to win Game 1 since January. Goes back to the obsession with going 1-0. So they've put everything into this game, everything they've got. Are they going to let Clemson take what they feel is theirs after all this? That would be tragic. Game prediction coming up. Arthur, you think that Clemson Tiger mascot has ever smoked crack with another mascot? While in that costume? I can just imagine him hanging out behind the dumpsters by the stadium after the game with the Wake Forest Demon Deacon smoking crack. Prediction time. I predict the Tigers will win this contest. Yes, that was easy. No, it really is not easy. And before I give my score prediction, here's how I see this enormous Week 1 matchup in Not Death Valley. Defensively, running on LSU between the tackles is going to be the hard knock life for Clemson. Dom McKinley, the Weeks boys, Bernard Gooden. Clemson's best shot at picking up rush yards is going to be through their quarterback. And LSU's secondary will be much improved. And LSU's pass rush will be much improved. And I just can't see them not getting to Klubnik. All this considered, quite often actually, I feel like they'd almost have to try not to. With Gabe Relaford and Patrick Payton. Jack starting defense Pyburn. And Klubnik can run. Yes, he's not an easy out. But LSU remains a step ahead because I hear Blake Baker has a spy. Agent number 7, Harold Perkins, is going to spy Klubnik. Probably. Maybe. I'd rather he stalk and demolish him instead of spy, but seek and destroy, something like that. Spy will work, I guess. But I don't think too many outside the LSU building really know exactly how Blake Baker is going to use Perkins. And I'm curious to find out, not just in this game, but this season. LSU on offense. Clemson's got a new DC, Tom Allen from Penn State. He's a really good one. I'm certain he knows to respect LSU's speed on the outside at receiver. Chris Hilton, Xavier Thomas, the Andersons, Barian Brown, and everybody else on that list. And Nuss's arm, of course. Will be interesting to see how Clemson balances this with defending LSU's running game with Caden Durham, far as numbers in the box. And also how committed LSU is to running the football. But up front, that Clemson D-line, they're committed to body slamming Nussmeier to the ground. And LSU's going to have to slow them down. That pass rush, quick passes, quick hitches, whatever they can do quickly, just be quick with it. Quick. And LSU's got the weapons in the short passing game to do this. Big receivers, slot receivers, running backs, tight ends. They can go 12 personnel. They can put stress on a defense in a lot of different ways. But the Clemson safeties, who are the biggest question marks on that defense by the admission of their DC, they're still going to have to respect that speed on the outside, no matter what. Unless they just want to stop respecting it. That would make Nussmeier smile. That's how it would start. And I haven't even mentioned the name Tradez Green. Feels like I should. But at some point, LSU's going to have to line up and grind out tough yards on the ground. And yes, bad O-line play could make that difficult. It could make this a terrible night altogether for the visitors. Oh, yeah. Things could go bad. That's why this is a hard game to pick. But I think this O-line is going to surprise some people in this game, especially the new tackles, especially Tyree Adams, and then get better and better as the season goes along. And again, return game, Brown, watch for it. So after a long, hard-fought slobber knocker of a college football game, I'm picking the Tigers, who are from the Bayou. Bayou Football picks Bayou Bengals. The LSU D is going to force Clemson to kick too many field goals, more than they can afford. LSU Tigers 27, Clemson Crackbaby Tigers 23. LSU fans making the trip to Clemson, avoid this guy at the gas station. For Arthur, the Bayou Party Dog, I'm Ruddy Rutledge. He is a real good boy, and this is some Bayou football.